Thank you. Thank you very much for the warm welcome. And first, I want to give my thanks and appreciation to a woman that I admire so much, and that is Madam Maryam Rajavi, who, of course, leads the resistance to the regime in Iran. I wish that I were there with you in person, but I could not be. But I am pleased to be with you virtually and in spirit. You were meeting at one of the most perilous moments in history since the end of World War II. The terrible aggression and vicious war that one man, Vladimir Putin, has brought to Ukraine and to the Ukrainian people is something that all of us must resist. And I commend the country of Germany and all European and other allies around the world for their help and support of the Ukrainian people in this fight. But I think it's important to understand and to tie what is going on in Ukraine today to what the future might hold in Iran. The reason that Vladimir Putin is able to terrorize 43 million people in Ukraine is because he has nuclear weapons. And with those nuclear weapons, he tries to tie the hands of the rest of the world. Well, there is another country that is on a mission to obtain nuclear weapons, and that country is Iran. Can we imagine what the world would look like if the Iranian regime was able to create and make nuclear weapons? I don't need to tell this message to Maryam Rajavi or to the wonderful people who are in Ashraf 3, many of whom I have met personally. They know what war is like. When they were in Ashraf, both the first Ashraf and the second Ashraf camp in Iraq, rockets rained down on them, killing them. And it was only when they were able to come to Albania, which gave them refuge, that they could live without the fear that they too might die at any moment. You are joined together to talk about women's rights. But frankly, women's rights are indistinguishable from human rights. Women cannot have rights if all humans are not respected. And no country can claim to champion human rights if it does not respect the rights of half of its population. One of the things that we know about Iran, and that is most stark about Iran, is the way in which women's rights are violated. Women are told how they must dress. They are told what professions they may go into. They are kept prisoners by a regime that does not respect basic human dignity. And they have risen up. There are people who have risked their lives to take to the streets of Iran in major cities and in small towns across that country to speak out in resistance. And many times they end up being imprisoned by the Iranian regime. And I'm thinking of one woman in particular who was arrested in 2019, Sabah Cord Afshari. She is currently serving a 24-year sentence for having the temerity to speak out for the rights of women to be able to choose how they live, how they dress, how they worship. There is resistance. And this year alone, we saw that many of the supporters of the NCRI were able actually to get Maryam Rajavi's photo, her picture, put on television in Iran to replace that of the Ayatollah Khamenei. He is a man who has ambitions to do to the people of Iran and to the world what Vladimir Putin is doing to the people of Ukraine. We cannot let this stand. There must be resistance around the world to the provocations and to the wars that are waged on men and women in all of our nations. And in Iran, we will not see women's rights respected until there is regime change. And one of the people leading that resistance most valiantly, most bravely, and most consistently is Maryam Rajavi, who has taken a message to the Iranian people that they must rise up and they must be free. They must be free and have all of the freedoms that those of us who are privileged to live in countries like Germany and the United States and others around the world, that they must have those same rights. But this will not happen without the support of people gathered in rooms like yours around the world. I want to thank Maryam Rajavi for her leadership. I want to thank the National Council of Resistance in Iran for the leadership that you have provided to the Iranian people. I want to thank those who have been by the side and have had, unfortunately, to suffer under the regime, those who are in Ashraf 3 now, those who are gathered with you there in Berlin. I ask you all to keep up this fight, the fight for freedom, the fight for rights for women, the fight for rights for all of our children and all of the people going forward. Thank you very much.